Imagine this. You've been paying into Social Security your entire life. 40 years of work, thousands of dollars in contributions, and now you're 62, you can start collecting benefits right now. But here's the problem. If you wait until 70, your monthly check will be nearly twice as big. Sounds simple, right? But here's what nobody tells you. The difference between these two decisions could be $300,000. $300,000. That's the price of a home in many states. That's an inheritance for your kids. That's the difference between a comfortable retirement and constantly counting every dollar. Welcome to the money system. Today we're breaking down the most important financial decision of your life. Not investments, not insurance, but this choice right here. Because you can't undo it. Once you hit that button, file that application at 62, that's it. Game over. Your benefit amount is locked in forever. And we've seen too many people make this decision in 5 minutes, then regret it for 20 years. Here's the thing. The Social Security system seems simple, but that's an illusion. The government even created a special calculator where you input your age and income, and it spits out numbers. But that calculator doesn't know what matters most. It doesn't know how long you'll live. It doesn't know if you have other savings. It doesn't know if you're healthy or already battling chronic conditions. It doesn't know if your spouse is still working. And these factors determine which decision is right for you specifically. Today we're walking through real scenarios, not abstract calculations, but stories of actual people. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which category you fall into. Because there's no right answer for everyone. But there is a right answer for you. Let's start with the most obvious question. Why would anyone take Social Security at 62 if they could wait and get much more? The answer is simple. 8 years. That's a massive amount of time. If you start collecting benefits at 62, by the time you're 70, you'll have already received hundreds of thousands of dollars, and the person who waited until 70 hasn't received a single cent. During that time, meet John. Real person, real story. John worked his entire life as an electrician. At 62, his back isn't what it used to be. His knees ache. Every morning starts with pain. He could keep working, but it's hard. Really hard. John has modest savings, about $50,000. That'll last a couple years, but not more. His estimated benefit at 62, $1,800 per month. If he waits until 70, $3,200 per month. John chose 62. And here's why his decision made sense. First, his health. Statistics show that men with physically demanding jobs live on average 4 to 5 years less than office workers. It's not fair, but it's a fact. If John only lives to 75 or 76, waiting until 70 would mean receiving significantly less money over his lifetime. Second, quality of life right now. At 62, John can still travel, play with his grandkids, pursue hobbies. At 75, that might not be so easy anymore. But most importantly, John had no other income source. His $50,000 in savings would have evaporated in 2 to 3 years if he tried to live on it until 70. He would have had to either keep destroying his body at work or go into debt. Social Security at 62 gave him the chance to retire with dignity. 7 years have passed. Today, John is 69, and he doesn't regret his decision. Yes, his check is smaller than it could have been, but he's been getting money every month all these years. He took that trip to Alaska he'd dreamed about his whole life. He sees his grandkids every week. He lives modestly but peacefully, and his health really has declined. That extra $1,000 per month he could be getting if he'd started at 70 wouldn't have been worth 8 years of pain and stress. Here's the key takeaway from John's story. If your health is questionable, if you don't have other savings, if continuing to work causes you physical or psychological suffering, early claiming might be the right choice. Yes, the math says one thing. But life isn't just math. It's also about the quality of the years you live. But John's story is only one side of the coin. Now let's talk about the opposite scenario. About people for whom waiting until 70 isn't just a good idea, it's a financial necessity. Meet Sarah. She's 61, works as an accountant at a major firm. Good salary, excellent health. She runs marathons. Her mother lived to 94, her grandmother to 89. Genetics are on her side. Sarah has a 401(k) with a balance of $400,000. Her husband is 3 years older, already retired and collecting his Social Security. Sarah's estimated benefit at 62, $2,100 per month. At 70, $3,700 per month. Sarah decided to wait until 70, and here's the math that explains why. The difference between $2,100 and $3,700 is $1,600 per month. Multiplied by 12 months, that's $1,900 per year. If Sarah lives to 85, which is very likely given her health and genetics, she'll be receiving that extra amount for 15 years. That's almost $300,000 in additional benefits. $300,000. But it's not just about the numbers. Sarah has a plan. From 62 to 70, she'll use her 401k to cover expenses. Sounds risky, right? Spending down savings instead of collecting Social Security. But here's the trick. Her 401k is invested conservatively, earning about 5% annually. If she withdraws around $40,000 per year for 8 years, that's $320,000. Accounting for investment growth, her 401k will still have about $150,000 by age 70. And now from 70 onward, she'll start receiving $3,700 per month from Social Security. Plus, she still has that $150,000 cushion, plus her husband's benefits. They're living comfortably, they're traveling, they're not counting every dollar. And most importantly, if Sarah lives a long life, and everything points to that being the case, those extra $1,500 per month will become critically important in her 80s when healthcare costs start to climb. There's another factor that few people think about: inflation. Social Security is indexed for inflation every year. If your base benefit is higher, each adjustment gives you more money. That $1,600 per month difference today could turn into a $2,500 difference in 20 years with inflation adjustments. That's a massive safety cushion. Here's what's important to understand from Sarah's story. If you have other income sources or savings, if your health is good, if your family has a history of longevity, waiting until 70 can double or even triple the total amount you'll receive from Social Security over your lifetime. This isn't just optimization. This is the difference between a comfortable old age and financial struggles at 80. But we've been talking about simple cases so far. One person, one decision. What if you're married? Because this is where this game gets really complicated. When there are two people in the equation, the strategy changes completely. Let's talk about Mark and Linda. Mark is 64, Linda is 62. Both are on the verge of their Social Security decision. But here's what makes their situation interesting. Mark earned significantly more throughout his career than Linda. His estimated benefit at 67, which is full retirement age, is $3,000 per month. Linda's is $1,500. First instinct, both start collecting benefits as soon as they can. They add up the numbers, get a combined income, and live on that money. But their financial advisor suggested a completely different strategy. Linda starts collecting her Social Security at 62, receiving a reduced benefit of about $1,100 per month. Mark waits until 70, maximizing his benefit to $4,200 per month. Why? Here's the survivor math. Statistically, one spouse will outlive the other by an average of 8 to 10 years. When one of them dies, the surviving spouse gets to keep the larger of the two benefits, but loses the smaller one. So if Mark dies first, Linda will start receiving his $4,200 instead of her $1,100. This is critically important because expenses don't drop by half after a spouse dies. The mortgage stays the same. Property taxes don't fall. Utility bills are nearly identical. Using this strategy, Mark and Linda ensured maximum protection for whichever one of them lives longer. During the 8 years, while Mark waits until 70, they live on Linda's benefit plus their savings. Yes, it requires planning. Yes, they need a cash reserve. But in the long run, this strategy can provide an additional $200,000 to $300,000 for the surviving spouse. There's another scenario for married couples: a large age gap. If one spouse is significantly younger, say 10 to 15 years, the strategy changes again. The older spouse should almost always wait until 70 because their benefit will support the younger spouse potentially for 20 to 30 years after their death. The younger spouse can start earlier because their own benefit is a temporary measure until they switch to the spousal benefit. We know a married couple where the husband is 17 years older than the wife. He waited until 70, maximized his benefit to $4,500 per month. She took her benefit at 62. He died at 81. She's now 64, and she'll be receiving his $4,500 per month for the rest of her life. If she lives to 85, which is quite realistic, those 20-plus years of higher benefits amount to a difference of nearly $500,000 compared to a scenario where he started collecting early. Key takeaway for married couples: don't think about two separate decisions. Think about one coordinated strategy. Consider who's likely to live longer. Consider the difference in your benefits. Think about how to protect the one who will be left alone. This isn't a selfish, every person for themselves decision. This is a team decision that affects financial security for decades to come. So we've looked at three main scenarios. A person with limited means and health issues who takes Social Security early. A person with savings and good health who waits until 70. A married couple that coordinates their strategy for maximum protection. But how do you figure out where exactly you fit? Let's wrap this up and create a clear roadmap for your decision. First, assess your health honestly. Not optimistically, not pessimistically, but realistically. Look at your family history. If your parents and grandparents lived into their 80s and 90s, the odds are in your favor. If your family has issues with heart disease, diabetes, cancer at young ages, that's important information. Talk to your doctor. Ask directly. Given my current health, what's a realistic life expectancy? Doctors don't like these conversations, but this is critically important information for your financial planning. Second, calculate your real savings, and I mean not just the balance in your bank account. How much money do you need each month for a comfortable life? Multiply that by 96 months. That's 8 years from 62 to 70. Can you live those 8 years without Social Security? If the answer is no, your decision is already made. If the answer is yes, but barely, think about a compromise. Maybe start at 65 or 67. Find a middle ground. Third, think about your work. Do you love what you do? If yes, continuing to work until 70 might be a blessing, not a sacrifice. You stay socially active, mentally engaged, and your Social Security grows while you're earning a salary. If your job is sucking the life out of you, if every Monday is torture, don't sacrifice 8 years of your life for bigger checks later. Money matters, but your mental health has a price too. Fourth, for married couples, coordinate. Sit down together, not for 5 minutes, but for several hours. Use Social Security calculators that are specifically designed for couples. Consider all combinations, both early, both late, one early and one late. Account for not just the numbers, but likely scenarios. Which of you is healthier? Who has the higher benefit? How do you protect the one who's likely to live longer? Fifth, don't forget about taxes. Social Security can be taxable depending on your total income. If you have other income sources, pensions, rental income, dividends, a higher Social Security benefit might push you into a higher tax bracket. That's not a reason not to wait until 70, but it's a factor to include in your calculations. Consult with a tax professional to understand the real after-tax number. Here's a concrete action you can take right now, today. Go to the Social Security Administration website. Create an account if you don't have one yet. Look at your estimated benefits at different ages. They're right there, in black and white. Then open a spreadsheet or just grab a piece of paper. Write 3 columns. Start at 62, start at 67, start at 70. For each option, calculate the total amount you'll receive if you live to 75, 80, 85, and 90. Multiply the monthly benefit by the number of months. Don't forget that if you start at 62, you're getting money for 8 years longer, but less each month. These simple calculations will show you the break-even point, the age at which waiting starts to pay off. For most people, this point is somewhere between 78 and 82 years old. If you think you'll live longer, wait. If you think less, start earlier. This isn't rocket science. It's an honest assessment of your situation. And here's what we want you to remember most of all. This decision isn't set in stone until the moment you sign the papers. You have time to think. Don't let anyone rush you. Don't make this decision because your friend claimed it's 62 or because someone on the internet said always wait until 70. Your life is unique. Your health is unique. Your finances are unique. Your decision should be unique. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button and subscribe to The Money System. We create content like this about retirement planning, investing, and financial security. In the next video, we'll talk about Medicare and how to avoid the most expensive mistakes when enrolling. But right now, go do those calculations. Your future is worth those 30 minutes. Thanks for watching.